provide you what purchases or we can just, if you want to do it, I don't care.
I can build a page on my website, and it'll be just.
It's only 300.
I just pulled it back there.
Trying to get the closed captions.
That was for us.
So that I can get closed captions. They can't understand it.
I'll go when you give me the cue.
Well, I just started doing this, so we just picked the radio up. So, got a lot of experience.
We've still got 3 seats. 5 seats.
I don't think we'll have too many more. Should be fine.
Boy, it got quiet all of a sudden. Is that the cue, Dirk? Is that?
Really?
Who? Me? It's my. It's. I was going to say it's my long hair, right?
We're live.
I see that.
No. I'm going to preface this video just to let everyone know that you are live mic'd. So if something is said and my lips aren't moving, we know it's AC5S.
Big Dan the puppy. So Kermit says his book is April 8th.
Right. So it's coming up.
Good? All right. All right, everyone, we're going to kick this whole thing off. Well, good evening and welcome to the March edition of the monthly Parker Radio Association monthly meeting. My name's Dan, N2SRK, club president. Glad that you're here. I'd like to welcome any guests that we have. So any first-timers that are here? All right, we got a bunch of first-timers. This is awesome. All right, well, Stan, introduce yourself if you have a call sign, and what's your favorite mode to operate?
My name's Dave, WB9TIO, and right now I've got a new FTDX10, which running FT8. So
Excellent.
I got it working after about 6 months.
Very good. All right. All right.
You're a quick learner. You're a quick learner.
Yes, sir.
That's great. Well, great to meet you. Welcome. And we had one in the back.
Hi, I'm Dave, K0TOC. I've been a member for a year, but I live in Evergreen, so first meeting. And favorite mode, I don't know, put a gun to my head. You know, FM, because it's always clear.
Yeah. Nice. All right. I like it. I like it. We had one other?
I'm Kim, KF0HCD. Been a member for about a year and a half, first meeting tonight.
Excellent.
Just playing with VHF right now. So.
Wonderful. Well, gentlemen, welcome. We're glad that you're here, and thanks for spending part of your Tuesday evening with us. And boy, really warm March evening. This is. I'm getting ready for spring and summer. Absolutely. I had a little tease. I got to go to spring training baseball down in Florida this week, and so I'm ready for baseball season for sure. So glad that you're here and welcome. I'll do the leadership introductions. I'll start with our Vice President, Paul.
Hey, thanks, Dan. I only have just a couple of short comments.
Here's a shock.
But I want to welcome everybody here tonight, so thank you very much for being here. And I'd like to welcome everyone that's online with us on YouTube Live. If you can't join us in person, then jump on YouTube Live, and you'll get to see everything that's going on. But if you can join us every month, then we've got some outstanding stuff coming up. Not only here, but we have some deployments coming up, Dan. Mm-hmm. We have a parking lot rodeo we'll talk more about.
Whoa.
We have Field Day coming up in June, right?
Yes.
That we've been working really hard to get ready for. And so some exciting stuff. So again, those of you that are here tonight, thank you for coming. And those of you on YouTube, welcome as well. And back to net.
Sounds good. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate that. We'll stick with the popular table in the back. Scott?
Hi everybody, Scott, NA0MT, one of the directors at large. Outings, yeah, big thing. Chatsfield
Chatfield.
Reservoir. The 25th of this month. More will come out in the blast. We'll probably just meet there, and we're kind of in the area that we were in last year, if anybody was there for that one. Lots of room to set up, deploy. After tonight's presentation of all things QRP up here, a lot of these radios will be out there. If you want to come and play with one of these radios, just hit myself, Randy, or Paula. Most all that stuff is ours up on that table. And we'll make sure that we have it and you guys can you can use it. If you're a tech and you say you want to play HF, we're all extras, so we'll be right there. You can play HF. It's not a problem. We'll get you on the air.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks, Scott. I saw Robert floating around. There's Robert.
Robert, AE0CA, I'm the treasurer. We can talk to church later.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Robert does a great job in not only in the financial reporting, but keeping us out of trouble as well. So I certainly appreciate that, Robert, for sure. I know Brian is unable to join us tonight. So Brian, hopefully you're watching or listening, and we're saying hello to you. Jeff?
Jeff, N0GQ for ID. I'm Club CTO, and I talked to Brian about 2 hours ago.
Yes.
If you don't know, he's getting his bionic eye put in or something like that. He's doing fantastic, so he'll be back home on Thursday.
So he's supposed to get like an additional 3 dB gain with that
Some,
eye,
yeah,
right?
and infrared, and laser range finding, and yeah.
8K resolution.
Yeah, I wonder if that will work with FT8.
Probably.
Good on 80, yeah? No? Okay. Like Twitch? Like what will happen? I don't know. All right. So, yeah, we'll do eye bounce. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, one of the fun parts. Oh, who did I miss? Hang on. Randy.
It's all right.
Randy, you blended right in.
In the back of the class.
Who's this guy? Randy, I apologize.
It's Randy, K0TNG. And
How many others do you have?
I don't know. Got several. We're going to pass this around later. You guys can take a look at some name tags we're going to have made up. Club name tags. So
Awesome.
that's all I got to say.
All right. Yeah. Give Randy a Thanks, Randy. One of the fun parts of the meeting that we talk about gives everybody a little opportunity for some soapbox comments. So the bands have been very gracious and plentiful, particularly 10 meters and 12 meters and 15 meters. So even if you're a technician, hopefully you have an opportunity to get on 10 meters. There's been some amazing DX. Obviously some of the close by, Central South America, but well into New Zealand, Australia, Japan. I think some people have even worked Italy, some parts of Eastern Europe as well. So get on the band. So we'll open it up for any soapbox comments. Anybody who's maybe worked a new country in the last month?
Canada.
My first international con.
Hey, it counts, right? Yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations. Who else?
Hong Kong.
Hong Kong. What mode?
FT8, 10 meters.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very good. That's a great one to have in the log. Randy?
I got New Caledonia, and everything I do is on voice anyway, so
Excellent.
I was surprised how clear it was. I thought it was France, because they got an F call sign too.
Yeah.
Which I guess they were French.
Yep.
If I remember McHale's Navy correctly.
That's good. Awesome. Wayne?
Slovenia
Nice.
and Bosnia, Italy,
Excellent.
France, Mexico, all on 10 meters.
That's awesome. Good deal.
I got Bulgaria on 20.
That's a good one. Bulgaria, yeah.
Canary Island on 10, phone.
That's good.
Nice, I saw that one.
That's a real good one. Absolutely. Okay, you got to brag. Dana.
What?
Where's the you brought the shirt.
Oh, that? I thought you were going to ask me about my New Zealand POTA contact on CW on 10 meters.
That's
Wow,
cool.
nice.
Oh, wow.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
It wasn't red, was it?
Huh?
It wasn't red, was it?
No, it wasn't, hold on. I got a sweatshirt here for working 3Y0J.
Wow.
So
Nice.
that's my,
Frame that sucker up.
what's that?
Frame that sucker up.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that was an incredible de-expedition. They got their butts kicked.
I don't know how they did it.
No, I don't either. Absolutely. Any others? How about any upgrades or new licensees? No upgrades? That's okay. Any new radios?
I got a 710, just like you did.
There you go. I like it. Very good. Wayne's shaking his head. That's from a 101 guy, right?
Yeah.
Right?
All right.
That's too expensive, sorry.
Well, we're going to move into the monthly presentation if you haven't figured it out yet. Great presentation that's lined up, and I think the timing couldn't have been better for this. It's on QRP Operations. Both Paul and Scott have had, probably a combined years of experience of how much? A lot. I won't.
50 plus?
Yeah, so
between us?
50 plus in not only amateur radio, but these guys have a great passion for outdoors and also for our deployments. These guys are great in leading the portable deployments as well. So great presentation lined up, and without further ado, we're going to turn it over to them. So thank you, gentlemen. Yep, we'll get you.
Well, while Scott's getting his mic going, welcome to our presentation tonight. You'll notice on the slide WB3 EVZ. How many of you know W3B3 EVZ? So Terry, long-time member, and he's recently moved to Michigan. I'm not exactly sure why, but anyway, Terry is known for a lot of things with this club and otherwise. But the thing that we all remember Terry doing on a regular basis, he was a rep for he repaired medical devices. He was a tech. And he drove all over this part of the country, Wyoming, Utah, Nevada, and he ran CW Mobile. And he routinely worked friends of his in France and in Germany and Japan. So Terry originally put this presentation together, and so we wanted to just acknowledge Terry, and then Scott and I have come along and added a little bit to it. There's two of us up here tonight, but I want to tell you right up front, there's only one expert up here. I'm not that person. When I got involved, I got my license in '81, I had an Elmer, and the first thing I remember walking into his shack was it was really warm in there. And this guy was full legal limit all the time. And I just thought that's how you did it. So after I got my ticket, year or two, I picked up a 600 watt amp, and that wasn't good enough. So I picked up a Drake 1200 watt amp. And so for the first 20 years of my ham radio existence, I just blasted out voice and everything else on as much power as I could actually get out, right? So sometimes I fried the antenna, sometimes I fried the amp, but max power all the time. And then along comes Parker Radio Association. And we started getting we had 25 members, and then we had 50 members. We thought we were big time. But every 4 or 5 or 10 members that we would pick up, at least one of them operated QRP. And I knew what QRP meant, but I really had never run anything less than, like I said, 600 watts. So as we started getting more club members, we started getting a group of people within the club that all they did was run QRP. Even their base station rigs were QRP. And so I started hanging out with those people. And even when we started having our portable deployments a few years ago, you may remember I didn't bring equipment to the portable deployment because I had equipment, I had QRP equipment, but I was there to learn. I was there to watch everybody, to see how they did it, and I realized there was a whole lot more to QRP than just buying a QRP radio, a lot more. you had to have the right antennas, right? And you had to have the right everything. So our presentation tonight is going to cover QRP. And we have a video we want you to watch. It's really, really important. Maybe the most important video you watched this week. And then after our slide deck, we're going to go through each of these radios we have up here, which there's a lot of QRP rigs that are very common. Some new ones, some old ones, some small ones, some big ones. And we're going to give you a little information about each of those radios, pros and cons. Okay, so that's what we're doing tonight. Are you ready, Scott?
Yeah, let me just real quick. Unlike Paul, I didn't grow up QRO, high amps. I've never owned an amp other than the 100-watt amp that comes in most of the HF radios. That's as much power as I've ever ran. I started with small radios, and I stay with small radios. I love QRP. I find it fascinating, challenging, and gets me outdoors, and that's what I like to do. So I kind of grew up on the QRP side of it. Go ahead.
Okay. Does everybody know what QRP stands for? If you don't, you're getting ready to learn.
Turn down your power.
Turn down your power. Right.
Yes.
All right, Scott, go ahead.
So on here, QRP was originally meant for the operator, as Brad just said, to reduce your power and to query the other station's QRP. Should I reduce my power? Sometime in the mid-60s, which isn't terribly long ago, QRP began to mean an output power of 5 watts or less. The FCC requires amateur radio operators under Part 97 to use minimum transceiver power necessary to carry out the desired communication, unlike what Paul and his Elmer were doing. So with that, maybe you fall into that category. Maybe you like to run the power, whether it be a digital mode, including CW or phone. Turn down the power, see what you can do. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Have you ever tried to run less than 100 watts? Show of hands. How many people have done less than 100 watts? Yeah, about half. All right. So on here, a drop from 100 watts to 5 watts is 13 dB, or about 2 S units. So on that meter, for those familiar with HF radios, that's a standard looking meter there. Your noise floor, typically somewhere around 3 to 5 is pretty common. If you're in a noisy area, maybe more than that. If you're in a real quiet area, or you get up on a mountaintop, I've seen it 0. I don't have a noise floor. There's nothing there. There's no noise. It's fantastic. However, let's say your noise floor, just like that's showing there, is about 4 roughly. So if a signal is above 4, you can hear it. With that, if you're hearing that station at, say, 7, S7, and they want to turn their power down, say they're running 100 watts, they turn their power down to 5 watts, they're still at 5. They're above the noise floor. You're going to hear them just fine. And we're going to show a video here in a minute that really explains this extremely well. QRP operators are typically those who operate below 5 watts, and they have successfully communicated in the sub-milliwatt power equivalent to over 1 million miles per watt. In Colorado, there's a QRP club, W0CQC, that routinely wins field day in a Class 2A battery-operated category, and they frequently take first on this. They're absolutely incredible operators for QRP. So we'll start the video. It's just a short little 3-minute or so video, but this fella does a fantastic job explaining it. So we'll hit this real quick.
Yeah, what am I doing wrong there? Oh, okay, thank you. I'm not going to say this video changed my life. That would be kind of like,
yeah,
I wouldn't say that. What I would say is that this stuff is really important to understand. And if you don't get it, sitting here tonight watching the video, take a look at it again tonight when you get home, and look at it again tomorrow, because it really is important. you may never want to run QRP, but this is still a really interesting video.
I've got friends who say life is too short for QRP. It's a funny thing to say, and I laugh along with them. But did you know that QRP works almost as well as a normal 100-watt transmission? Well, that can't be true, right? I mean, logically, if you're transmitting at 100 watts and you turn your power down to 5 watts, the person on the other side of your conversation will only hear you 5% as well as they did before, right? That's logical, but it's absolutely wrong. In fact, going from 100 watts to 5 watts will only reduce your signal on the other side by about 2 S units. Here's what the life is too short for QRP guys don't like to acknowledge, or maybe don't understand. It takes 4 times the power for our signals to be registered as 1 S unit stronger. So let's talk briefly about some simple math that'll take away the mystery of why QRP works, and therefore why life is plenty long enough for QRP. Our radios have an S meter that shows received signal strength. Doubling your transmitted power yields a 3 dB increase, but each additional S unit requires an increase of 6 dB. So it takes 4 times the transmitted power for the receiving station to show 1 additional S unit. Now, think about what that means for a minute. If I'm transmitting 100 watts and the person I'm talking to receives me at S7 or 7 S units, I'd have to turn up my power to 400 watts in order to be received as S8. To be received as S9, I'd have to multiply my power by 4 again and transmit 1,600 watts. And by the way, 1,500 watts is the legal limit here in the United States. Now, when band conditions are good, 100 watts often will get you a true S9 signal report, or maybe even better. So let's work the math backwards for just a minute. If I'm getting a true S9 signal report at 100 watts, I can drop my power to 1/4, 25 watts, and my signal will be perceived as S8. I can cut that power by 1/4 again, now only transmitting about 6 watts, and my signal will be received as S7. To be received as S6, we'll reduce our power again by a factor of 4. So now we're transmitting about 1.5 watts, and we're still being received as S6. Oh, I'm sorry, did I just take away the magic of QRP for you? Okay, now listen carefully and think about this. As long as your signal is above the receiving station's noise floor, your signal will be heard. As long as your signal is above the noise floor for the other station, he'll hear you. And that's why life is plenty long enough for QRP. Okay, now before I go, I have to acknowledge that there is a place in this hobby for amplifiers. People who own amplifiers are not evil. If the station you're trying to communicate with has trouble hearing you, you'll need to increase your power in order to have a conversation or be heard. Do I think the hobby would be better off if everyone turned off their amplifiers unless they were actually needed? Yes, I think so, and so does the FCC. But in some circumstances, when the other station has a high noise floor or band conditions are marginal, amplifiers can mean the difference in being heard or not. So by all means, buy an amplifier, but please keep it turned off unless you can't complete the conversation without it. Okay, I'll step down from my soapbox now. Thanks for watching.
Okay, and I believe that this site is QRPschool.com, and they have a lot of good videos, not just on QRP, although most of it is on QRP. So yeah, watch that video again if you if that didn't all click. And I don't own any amps, by the way, anymore. I sold them all a few years ago. Until the next one comes along. Yeah, until I get a good deal. Okay, why QRP? You know, and I think this is what a lot of people maybe not struggle with, but they ask themselves, why QRP? I've got a 100-watt radio, and why do I need to buy another radio and go hang out at the lake or the mountaintop with a bunch of us? Well, first of all, the challenge to run less power than a nightlight uses and work stations anywhere in the world. I mean, think about that. Absolutely impressive. Also, to improve your operating skills, understanding of antennas, propagation, electronics. I mean, things have to be a little bit more refined to operate QRP, right? A good example is we're going to talk about later is having an antenna that's resonant. You know, we don't necessarily have to have that with our tuner in our FTDX10 or FT101, whatever Wayne has. Also, QRP minimizes RF exposure. And Brad has given us a presentation and talked about that a little bit with some of his neighbors and some of the issues he had. And also QRP radios are generally a whole lot lighter. So if you just deploy on a picnic table or you deploy on top of squaw, you're going to find that carrying around something a whole lot lighter is really good. Also, with QRP comes a lot of home brewing options and a lot of kit options. There's a lot of people that are very passionate about building QRP kits. And
AB4BA who?
Yeah, AB4BA. Are you listening, Brad? I mean, we don't have enough tables in this room to display all the QRP radios that Brad, AB4BA, has built. But if that's your thing and you like that, you certainly can get all the kits you want. But if you don't do the soldering yourself and all that, that's fine. Most of these kit builders, they have people who will build them for you for a very nominal fee. And when they build them, they test them and they tune them and they do that type of thing. You know, if it hits a fan and we are in a situation where it's a real emergency, knowing that you can communicate with minimal battery power, minimal antennas, I mean that builds a lot of confidence in your skill sets and your abilities to communicate with people and get that message out, get that welfare check out or pass traffic along to somebody else. And because we don't use, for all practical purposes, while these radios could use a commercial power supply plugged in the wall, typically we don't. We run them on battery, even if we're using them in our QTH. And I think the my favorite reason, and it was Terry's favorite reason for why QRP, QRP opens the door to operate portable anywhere. When you're on vacation, hiking, backpacking, at the beach, in a hotel room. We mentioned Brad a minute ago. He's out on the West Coast visiting family tonight, but he typically stays in a hotel where he hangs that wire right out the window, right? And he communicates that way. So anywhere you go, any place you want to set up, you can do it. And if you operate out of your vehicle, as Dana does very often, it's just a matter of pulling over to the side of the road, and you're ready to go. Okay, Scott?
So what band should we use? Well, just about everything is fair game. With that, so 20 meter and 40 meter are probably the most popular QRP bands for HF because one of those two is going to be open day or night. You can get somewhere on one of those two bands. 30 meters is a good option if you're going to play digital, whether it be FT8 or one of the other digital modes, or CW there, RIDI. That's the only thing permitted on that band. Antennas for 20, 17, 15, and 12 meters, and down to 10, they're all smaller than, of course, your 40 and your 80 and your 160. Significantly smaller, which makes them more portable, easier to set up, not needing as much real estate. With that, they're predominantly daytime bands on those higher bands. However, 20 gets real interesting in the evenings and sometime deep into the night. And we're finding right now with the sunspots being what they are, 10 meters is one of those that's also crazy. I've made some after dark 10 meter contacts that are just amazing. So you got to get in and try. It's going to change fairly rapidly on you when you're on those higher bands. It's not real predictable sometimes for where you're going to get to, but you got to get on and try. 80 meters, well, those antennas are big. They start at about roughly, 130 feet for a half-wave dipole, and you can make them bigger easier, but make them smaller starts compromising things. They are also inefficient if they're small, but they do work. You get real narrow banded on those. But don't forget about 6'2", 440, 70 centimeters, or microwave. Those are all open to you as well. So we have the full spectrum. 6 meters here a little later this spring, with the solar cycle being what it is going to be just fantastic. You're going to get some real crazy locations, a lot of fun. Techs, you have privileges there. Exercise them, use them, they're great. The bottom line is if you have equipment and that'll cover any band, then go for it. Just get on the air and give it a try. We were at another ham's house here this week helping with some HF antenna ideas. And the reality is your lot size, your house, your physical location, altitude, all play a role in things. But just like we explained, man, we were so excited because we had these great ideas, and then we saw some edging in his grass that was going to make a great ground plane. There's a little wire fence around the perimeter of the house, another opportunity for grounding. But we've all got quite a bit of experience, but we won't know until we hook an antenna and a radio up to it and give it a try. Out at Stan's place for Winter Field Day, I think it was, a couple of years ago. Ray was out there with me, and we kind of eyed Stan's barn roof. And we hooked Ray's 705 up to the tin roof. We talked East Coast and West Coast off of his barn roof. So, you know, get creative, give things a try. And that's the beauty of QRP. You're not putting out that much power. You're not going to hurt yourself. You're not going to typically hurt your radios. Give things a try. It's just experimentation at its finest.
Okay, so if you do a whole lot of QRP, or you hang around a lot of people that do QRP, with some exceptions, everyone will tell you that QRP, if you dive into it, CW is king. The real serious QRP people just pretty much operate CW exclusively. The equipment is light, even lighter than some of the sideband rigs, and we'll show you one of those in a minute. CW does take time. You got to practice. You got to learn the code. You got to learn how to receive the code, send the code. But there are so many training options available today, including online training classes and different clubs. I can't think of the one right off the top of my head that's up in New York. Long Island, is it Long Island CW Association or Society or? Club, okay.
Long Island CW Club.
That's their entire focus, is to get people on CW, and they will go out of their way, and their program works, and a lot of people have used it. So you don't have to learn code anymore to get your license. How many people got their license when you had to learn code? Okay. And like a lot of people, I learned it 13 words a minute, but then I was so burned out, so frustrated with code, I didn't even touch it after that. I just said, man, it's voice all the way, 1,500 watts. Yeah, so, right. Okay, but I've changed my ways. We've already talked about that. So anyway, CW is part of our history as amateurs. And so if you're like a lot of amateur radio operators today, that's kind of been on your bucket list. How many people have CW on their ham radio bucket list? Okay, all right, right here too. So anyway, this might be a good opportunity for you to rethink that and go ahead and dive into it. So why does CW work better for QRP? Can anybody just real quick answer on that? Dana? Signal noise ratio, that's exactly right. And I'll just show you real quickly here. I was going to do it in a minute, but I'll do it now. This is a fully capable CW transceiver running off a 9-volt battery. And this is a 20-meter unit. Built, they run about $90, $95, I think. And it's called, it's from QRP Labs. And this one's called a QCX. That's it, right there. Throw up an antenna, plug in a key, paddle, whatever, and you are on the air. 5 watts. 5 watts. Okay.
So how about SSB, the other side of the coin? That's my world I live in. I do sodas and podas, and phone is my world. I don't have any hesitation about grabbing a mic and getting on and giving it a try. I've been able to activate everything but one peak on phone. And there were some band conditions and some other issues, but in any event, I've had great success with it. So sideband does work even on QRP. We're the 5-watt QRP kind of gentleman's handshake on that. 10 watts on phone due to the PEP of your voice. You're still only really putting out 5 watts. So you can run your radio at 10 and be QRP on phone. So the propagation right now is outstanding. During the horrible sunspot cycle here, the last 7 years, I have done many sodas. I've looked at the band condition report. It's all red, it's poor, it's closed, it's horrible. I go to a peak and I can knock out 15 or 20 QSOs up there. I don't care what the band conditions are. I go play radio. So, give it a whirl. You'll be shocked where you can get to in horrible conditions, and even more shocked with our current stuff and where we're headed in the next couple of years.
And I'll just throw in a plug. We have, I think, 2 summits on the air deployments set for 2023, and 2 parks on the air deployments. And typically our parks are not, we're not hiking on those types of events. And then on the summits on the air, one will be a hike that's maybe a little bit more strenuous, and one will be not so much. So everybody can participate. You can pick one of those and come out. I know how many people run parks on the air. Yeah, I mean, Dana's a guru, Wayne, some other people. How about summits on the air?
Chase them too.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So you can chase them, or you can be the operator. Okay. Okay, digital modes are a great option for QRP. Unbelievable how many stations you can work, how many stations are available to work, especially on FT8 right now. Although you can run PSK31 and other modes as well on a QRP radio. Brian, who's not here tonight, but he has used a couple of these radios that are up here to operate digital QRP. And when we do our winter field day out at Stan's place, I'm going to say there's 4 or 5 people out there that are on the air using QRP digital setup. This picture shows a complete turnkey digital setup, and yes, there are a few more boxes and cables and stuff like that with some of these radios that don't have sound cards built in them, but it's doable, and it's very easy. And when you make you make a contact all the way across the United States on 5 watts digital, it's pretty amazing. So and DX as well. So anyway, that's the top picture of a more, what I would say, common QRP digital setup. But on the bottom picture, these are those 2 devices in that person's hand are actually HF transceivers. Is that correct?
2 of them.
2 of them.
So those are from Adam K6ARK out of California. I took that photo there. That's his 2 transceivers in my hand at 4 Days in May in Dayton last year. The bigger one puts out about 100 milliwatts. And there's a fantastic video of him out in like Anza-Borrego or Salton Sea area of California, and he's making some QSOs, and he's getting out on it. He got Arizona, he got Northern California, I think he got Oregon or Washington on it. That not only is the transceiver, that's also the key and the keyer. The only thing he plugs into that, he plugs in a battery on those two prongs up at the top, and his antenna goes up, and then there's a sound card port, and he records everything on a little Olympus digital recorder for his presentations, but he records all of his cues onto it. But that is the entire package of a radio, and it is, as they say, rock bound, meaning it has a single crystal in it for a single frequency. And so when he gets on the air, he has to make sure hopefully that frequency is clear, and he's going to work it. The smaller one, I think, is, I think that one is down around 50 milliwatts, and it's all surface mount technology. It too is rock bound, but it's the size of a postage stamp. I mean, the thing is ridiculous how little it is.
So not all of us get that crazy, but if you want to do that, if your thing is that, see how small you can make it, or if you want to play around in the balloon world,
yeah,
and get shot down, but that's available to you as well.
So here, one of our famed club members is doing a fantastic job here with an antenna on his HT. So don't forget the joys of an HT at 5 watts or less. Simplex on a peak or a high area. It can be a park. It doesn't have to be a soda adventure. But running VHF or UHF, it's a long line of sight, for example, from Evans to Pikes Peak. That's about 65, 70 miles as the crow would fly. And you'll talk to them like you're using our repeater talking to your buddy down here. It's just incredibly clear. Directional antennas, Yagis, they're small and light. They really do help when you're on a peak, kind of getting back down. How many people here have monitor 146.52 and listen to maybe some of the soda guys coming in? And they're on an HT frequently without even a good antenna. They're just on the rubber duck, and they're 5.9. I mean, they're perfectly clear. Now they have to work to get you, so the antenna does help with that. That is my antenna. That is a 2 meter, 2-element Yagi for, and I backpack with that. I've drilled all the holes in it to get rid of more weight. I don't think that antenna weighs maybe 5 ounces. It's next to nothing. You don't know you even have it in your backpack. So come up, feel free to take a look at these. Pete, how'd it work for you?
Great, it was awesome.
And it made a difference, didn't it, as you swung it?
Yep.
Yeah, it does. It does.
So during the day, I know Wayne is really good about this. He'll get on our repeater, 147, 165 VHF, and he'll say, hey, we got some guys running summits on the air, and if you can, run over and chat with them, which I did today, by the way. Mobile on 5.2s. So yeah, there's quite a few people that are not only running HF, but they run VHF. And in some cases, they're not running HF at all. They're just going up, especially this time of the year, where they're not going to be up there that long. If it's wind chills -10, they may just do VHF only.
So on that, there was a Summits on the Air dinner here a couple of weeks ago where all of us soda nuts got together over in Lone Tree, had dinner, and Bob, K0KR, is a 6-time mountain goat. He has 6,000 points. Correct. His first one was kind of a mixed mode. His first mountain goat that he got at 1,000 points. He then decided, yeah, that was a lot of fun. He did it VHF only. He did it UHF only. He has done a mixed mode VHF, UHF. He is now working on microwave. He wants to get mountain goat as a microwave only. Microwave, if anybody, how many people here have played with microwave at all? 1.2 gig or higher. Ooh, one little hand. I've done it. Equipment is extremely small. It's fun. A quarter wave 1.2 gig antenna is this tall. They're a lot of fun to make. They're fun to take up on peaks and use. However, they do not crawl over the terrain anything like any other mode that you've experienced. It is truly line of sight. If you can't see them, you're not going to work them. With the exception of, you could be on the other side of your building. It will go through your building and go work them. But if there's terrain of mountains involved, no, it's really difficult. So anyway, just a tidbit there.
How many people do moon bounce? Okay. So we're not a moon bounce club. We're not a microwave
Apparently not
club
a microwave
either.
club.
That doesn't mean you can't do those things and put together a presentation, come up, and
yeah,
you're welcome to do that. Okay, where to go on the bands. This is just a kind of a starting spot for you. If you're operating SOTA, Summits on the Air, or Parks on the Air, POTA, they may have some different frequencies that they start at and move around. And most of the Parks on the Air and Summits on the Air now do spot themselves on an app. You can on a web page. So a lot of times you can just go to either the Parks on the Air, Summits on the Air websites, and you can see the spots. You can see where people have spotted themselves and where other people have spotted them as well. Some people say that kind of takes the fun out of it. Well, you can dial through the band as well and come up with that frequency. But these are just some general frequencies that people tend to hang out on. And I think the QRP, there's a national QRP club, and they throw out some frequencies. Hey, go here, start with, and then.
And generally they follow this format that you're seeing up here. If it's CW in that column, or if it's on phone, the other column. Those are very, very popular watering holes for the QRP groups.
But don't hesitate to use those websites. I was on there yesterday, Parks on the Air, and there were quite a few people on 15 meters. Mm-hmm. Quite a few people on 15 yesterday. Okay, now the fun part.
All right, so price ranges, kind of as we've talked about, some of those really little stuff, $20 kits, $20, very common. You can spend $2,000 real quick on some of the more name brand bigger items here. There's a lot of manufactured gear. For example, Paul's got an 818 here. The 818, 817 are both discontinued, but very, very popular. Still very common to get. From Elecraft, you got the KX2, the KX3, and then you go into the Chinese stuff like the Xiegu 6100 or the True SDX or the Lab 599, all very common radios for QRP. Antennas can be bought or built. If you're doing backpack QRP kind of stuff, you'll find more often than not it's homebrewed. I will show you, for example, mine here. And again, we'll go over some of this a little more in depth, but mine's a homebrew. Many of you have seen it. It's just some wire, and it's a 64-to-1 transformer that lives in a dental floss container. I wanted small and light, so I built it. Nobody on the market makes that version. Adam K6 ARK makes some great products. Extremely lightweight and very durable, depending on how you build it, but really durable for what they are. So antennas are typically homebrewed. For the POTA crowd, where you're not backpacking it in as far, there's a lot more commercial gear that you'll see people taking out. The buddy poles. Randy, is that the MCOM there that you've got?
No, that's some Chinese
okay.
Taiwan thing.
MCOM has an antenna about that size. That's another very common one you'll see out there. The ham sticks.
QRP guys?
QRP guys.
Kit we made last year?
Yeah, absolutely. So dedicated QRP rigs, they're designed to be very power source efficient. Home rigs can, you can dial them down to 5 watts, but they're kind of power hungry. on receive, and I'll give you some examples of that here in just a second. Fancy LCDs, microprocessors, the fish finders or the spectrum displays all start taking lots more power. So the true QRP stuff, generally you don't have the displays, with the exception of the Xiegu 6100 and the Lab 599 both have spectrum displays in them, and they're pretty thrifty on their power. So, and I'll give you an example, the 818 and the 817, which is this Yaesu radio here. Fantastic radio. We'll talk about some pros and cons here in a minute, but that is a power hog. It does have a battery pack that goes with it, or you can external power it, but it's like 3 amps on receive. The Elecraft radios, they're 100 milliwatts on receive. The Chinese radios that I've mentioned, they're all less than a watt. They're around the 100 milliwatt mark. So they're much more thrifty on receive. And when you're going QRP, more backcountry stuff, batteries start adding up quickly. Thank God for lithium products. They've really lightened our load, getting away from sealed lead acid or the AGM style batteries. They were heavy. I packed a car battery a couple of times on a peak, and it was not fun. Anyway, there you go.
Okay, kits. How many in the audience have built some type of kit in the last few years, whatever type of kit? Excellent, excellent. I guess we are a kit club.
We are a kit club.
Not microwave or moon bounce, but
no.
We're a kit club. QRP kits typically are much less than factory-built radios. That's an absolute fact. There's a pride of workmanship and accomplishment in a piece of gear that you assembled yourself. And I know Brad, AB4BA, brings the stuff he builds to lunch, and he's proud of that stuff, and he should be, because it's amazing the work that he does. And I've built a few kits. The first, right off the bat, they didn't work, but then I was able to get in and troubleshoot them, and that was, that was cool. I was able to do that. Kits reinforce radio theory and teach component function and identification. I remember building my first kit and not understanding the codes on the resistors, right? But after you build your first kit and you put the resistor in the wrong place, you figure out the codes and the tolerance and all that. Many manufacturers will build the kit for a small price, and this little CW transceiver here, I had them build it because I just didn't have the time, and I probably didn't have the skill set, but they charged $45. I thought that was fairly reasonable, and some of the kit builders charge less than that to build the kit. And again, when they build the kit, they test it and they tune it, and when you get it, it's ready to go on the air. Okay, now the other side of that is you can do all that yourself if you build the kit, and that's very rewarding. So there's a lot of kits on the market, not just transceivers. Brad's always bringing us dummy loads and SWR meters and tuners that he builds, and there's battery monitoring devices, digital frequency counters, solar charge controllers, you name it, you can buy it and build it in a kit. Now here's my suggestion to you. I wouldn't start out, if you've never built kits before, I wouldn't, and even if you've done some soldering, I wouldn't suggest going out and buying this CW transceiver to build for your first real kit. Get some of these other items first. The SWR meter, maybe a dummy load, okay? And build some of those, maybe a battery monitoring kit. Build those first. Kind of get the feel for it again if you haven't done it in a while, and then you can dive right into a transceiver. Antennas. As Brad mentioned, the club built an antenna. Do we have 2 antenna builds this year or 1?
2.
We had 2.
Two.
One of them was the QRP guys kit.
QRP guys kit, and then one was the antenna for fox hunting.
Yes.
Okay.
Like this one.
Yep. So there's a lot of very, very, very inexpensive kits on the market. The QRP guys, I think, really they don't charge near what they probably could. but they're fantastic kits, and they're in-fed. They're just all different types of antennas. But you can get any type of antenna you want. You can build it, or you can get the ARRL book on antennas. And there are all different types of designs in there. You can put these things together. And some of them are very small that you can use for backpacking, but others can be used for parks on the air or operating out of your vehicle. And some of the names that you might or might not have heard of: Oak Hills Research, Hendrix, MFJ, Small Wonder Labs, Wilderness Radio, QRP Guys, QRP Labs, HF Signals, and there's more. There's quite a few more. So Google kits and ham radio kits, and you'll be able to come up with a little bit of everything. How many people have built an antenna through a kit? Okay, and how about one of the other devices, SWR meter, dummy load, power monitoring, okay, and who has jumped right in and built a transceiver? Nice. Very nice, very nice. Okay, so take a look at the kits. Other thing I'll just mention is that we do have a lot of experience in this club with regard to kit building, and there are people that will help you. They'll give you advice, and if you want to come do it in a group environment, then the Elmer Committee, Brad's committee right here, and Jerry over here, I'll say it's their committee, we do these builds, and it's amazing to watch everybody spread out. Everybody gets all their parts, and there are Elmers that go around and help everybody put it together. And when the evening's over in this room, the antennas are operational, or whatever we're doing is operational. So, and then there's such a demand for those kits that are left over. People hear about, whoa, they did this, they left me out. Why wasn't I there? And then there's a huge demand for people wanting to buy all the extra kits and everything because they realize what a good deal it is. So anyway, kits, definitely give it a shot with regard to QRP.
So on QRP, the very first thing you're going to learn is to be persistent and patient. Timing your calls can make a difference. Sometimes being patient helps, or there's keywords and phrases like I'm QRP or SOTA QRP or POTA QRP, and those other folks that want to do summit to summit or park to park, they will pick you up. As well as, I mean, I've gotten onto nets, I've needed some help with a summit, and I say I'm QRP, and they'll hold the air for you. They'll give you a little space to work you and let you try and get in there. So patience on your part, definitely patience on their part. You need to understand propagation. You will learn that rapidly doing QRP. You need you'll figure out time of day, time of year, best frequencies to use, what works for you, where you've had success, and you'll grow from there. And it's really a fantastic journey. You need to understand antennas and their efficiency, angles of radiation, and directivity on some of those. Probably 2 years ago, we did an outing to Castlewood Canyon, and Brad, AB4BA, brought his Whisper transmitter. I had not seen one at that point. I now own one just like his because it's so cool. But we took my in-fed antenna, put it on a push-up pole, and we oriented it so the pole was to the north and the operator was to the south. And we did that east-west and north, the full compass rose, and let his Whisper transmitter run its cycle on the bands. And it was very interesting to see the propagation, because we were just out in a field, so we're not on a mountaintop. But to find out how that antenna performed just taught me volumes. So when I do go to a peak, sometimes there's not enough real estate for me to say where I'm going to put my antenna. But when I do have an option, I now know how I want to orient that antenna because I've tested it. So those are things you get to learn and do.
Sounds like a club outing.
It does sound like another club outing. You need to understand tuners. If your antenna is not resonant, feed lines, their limitations, their lengths that you want to use, their size for packing in, packing out. You're probably not going to want to pack in much hardline when you're backpacking. some RG-174 is a whole lot easier to pack. Calling others, meaning hunt and pounce, versus owning a frequency. There are some events where you can go out. I know Dana is a real fan of going out, establishing a frequency, and working that frequency and have others come to him. Wayne does that as well. I'll try that, but if I'm not having success for that, I will go to hunt and pounce. I'll go find somebody somewhere and I'll make my contacts that way. Both work, both are good, but those are techniques you learn to do when you're operating QRP. Let's see. Run contests. Contests are a blast to try. As QRP, you can do SOTA contests, POTA contests, or just contests in general. Like the DX contest last about 10 days ago. That one was fantastic. You can go out, set up in a park, set up on a mountaintop, set up in your backyard, give QRP a try. You're going to be shocked the number of people that are going to pick you up because the bands are so active. Number one tip is operating, not just QRP, but get out there and operate.
But the real number one tip is listen. When I started hanging out, listen and visually learn. I mentioned that I used to hang out with the QRP people, but I never brought my equipment because I was listening to how they did it. They were good at listening on the air, right? One of the things that you find working QRP is you can work stations really close to noise floor after you've been doing it for a while, right? It teaches you that skill. Because it's not, you don't need that skill if all the stations you're working are 20 over, right? Or S9 with a 5 noise floor. But with QRP, very often you are working stations very close to the noise floor, and that's something you learn. You learn, and you learn what type of headphones work, and that type of thing. And I would certainly always recommend when you're in the field to use some type of headphone. So listen, you guys remember the Munsters? Yeah, go ahead, Scott.
Stations they're calling CQ or listening on that frequency. Be the first to hear that DX station, and you don't have to work the pileup. You're in there early. It's always fun. So really, taking time to listen is definitely the key. And just like Paul said, it's not on the radio all the time, which is why you're here. You're listening. You're learning. Do that. Make sure you come out to Chatsworth with us, and Chatfield. I always call it Chatsworth, California. Yeah, it is. Not worth the drive, by the way.
So take the time to listen. Very, very important. It's like a contest. You have to get that. People have the rhythm down, right, Wayne? But the first time you get on a contest, you don't really have that rhythm. Your words aren't coming out right. And same way with QRP. Listen, and you'll figure out how it's done. Okay, well, enjoy the most of our amazing hobby and enjoy QRP. We would like to show you a few radios up here and give you the pros and cons of each briefly. We'll take about 20 minutes to do this. After we get through with that, we'll open it up for questions. If you have questions about the specific radios or questions about anything on the slide deck, and I'll tell you what, I'll just start since I'm talking anyway. This is my FT818, and this is fairly new radio. It's the design's been out 20 years. It was an 817 originally, and then they couldn't get parts, and they ended up building it as an 818. And that radio has some real disadvantages. It's heavy. It only puts out 6 watts compared to the newer radios. As Scott mentioned, it draws a lot on receive. It's not a good backpacking radio, but not only does it do HF and 6 meters, I think, Dan. Dan's a 6 meter guy. But it also does VHF and UHF.
All mode.
All mode. All mode. All mode VHF, all mode UHF, HF 6 meters. So it's heavier, it draws more current, but I don't care about that. Because usually when I go out on a deployment, I'm only there a couple hours. So the battery running out of power for those 2 hours that I'm there, it's not going to happen.
And never mobile, right?
And it's never been mobile in case I go to sell it. The other disadvantage of this radio is that it does not have digital signal processing, and most people end up putting a device on the mic to give it a little more punch, because it doesn't really have a lot of punch on sideband, but there's a little module you buy for that. Since it doesn't have DSP, it does have 2 slots for Collins filters. You can put either in a Collins narrow sideband filter, a Collins narrow CW filter, or a sideband filter that narrows up the band a little bit as well. And they're super, super rugged. I mean, I've seen people drop them off of a cliff and they bounce around a little bit and get torn up and they still work. But they've just discontinued this radio. Now, one comment on my antenna. I do have QRP radios that have built-in tuners, but I don't really like antennas that need to be tuned. This antenna is built by PAR, Infed, now a different company. You can get them through DX Engineering, and it is tuned for the voice portion of 20 meters. And when this antenna is up at a decent height and configured correctly, it's less than 1.5 to 1 across the entire voice band. So I don't need a tuner with this antenna. And that's just one thing I don't have to carry, because with this radio I'd have to carry a tuner. So I like antennas that are resonant. You don't have to worry about it. Now that means, though, the disadvantage of that is if I'm out on a POTA and 20 is horrible but 40 meters might be decent, then I have to have my separate 40 meter antenna with me if I don't have a tuner and I'm using this radio. And then the other thing that Scott mentioned earlier was, here's the mic, and there's a little box that helps me with compression and give me a little more punch power on sideband. And then don't ever go to a Summit on the Air without a handy-talkie. I can't remember how many people didn't have a handy-talkie. We used to go do Signal Butte, and we'd get up there, and several people didn't have a handy-talkie. And it's like, you got to have a handy-talkie if you go to the Summit, right? Because here it is. I don't have a fancy antenna like this, but I can make plenty of contacts on the rubber ducky at certain sites. So that is one of my setups, and it all fits in that bag. And again, it's not a backpacking setup, but it works great for me for summits and parks on the air, more so parks on the air.
Cool. I'll go over a couple of them here. So we've talked about a Yagi antenna for when you're on the peak, but on your hike up, I've got a chest harness. It's a VHF, UHF, Yaesu radio with the mic, and then I just carry a little bit of coax to get over to this antenna when I'm on the peak. When I'm on the peak, you will notice here in Colorado, a lot of the Summit activators, they do it UHF, VHF first. That's their primary. And I've really had a hard time wrapping my head around that. I do HF first. I like HF better. I get further away. I like the setup. I like to play radio. I like how it sounds. My go-to radio is a KX2. It is 10 meters through 80 meters, 12 watts with internal battery. And I can get all of it, including the antenna, in this little box right here, and it weighs about 2 pounds. I've got headphones and logging material. My antennas are non-resonant because I have a tuner built into this radio. It is a 9-to-1 tuner, so I don't have the problem of I can band hop. I can go 40 through 10 with this antenna and my tuner. Sometimes it doesn't radiate real effectively depending on how it's set up, but I've made contacts on all of those bands, not a problem. So VHF, UHF, I use more VHF than UHF, and that's kind of common. There's a lot more people on VHF when you're trying to either do POTA or SOTA to get those contacts in. So that kind of wraps up my stuff.
Yeah, and I know you weren't going to do it, but I'm going to do it for you.
All right.
If you own a KX2 or a KX3 or a K3 or 705 ICOM, these end pieces here, they're manufactured by Scott's company. So just want you to know, right here we have the ability to get you
and the covers.
And the covers. So that's all. I'm going to not say in-house, but kind of in-house. Right. Scott can certainly provide them for you here locally in Parker.
They're awesome, by the way. They're free.
Thanks. Yeah, they're free 90 free. Yeah.
They're actually priced extremely reasonably, in my personal opinion. But
for each item.
Okay, Randy's going to take over.
Obviously, we covered this sort of QRP out your HD. I'm going to go from, and these vary in price depending on whatever you want.
Is that a bow thing?
Pardon me?
Is that a bow thing?
No, it is not. It is a ICOM.
Is it?
Bow thing. I just grabbed the radio. All right, so let's go to, and I'm just going to throw some prices out so you know. This is $130. This is the true SDX. They're about 130, 140, somewhere in there. That comes as a kit, a little bit less than $100, but frankly, I didn't want to wind the toroids. So pick this thing up. This thing, it puts out pretty much about 2.8 watts on HF on 20 meters. And I did contact Russia. He was there. Well, he was on the air.
Well, it was a local call.
Yeah, it was.
So that is that's a sideband.
On sideband voice.
And CW transceiver, by the way.
Yeah.
And digital.
Antenna-wise, we'll get to that. It's actually one of them is over here. All right, this is a knockoff version. This one was built by some guys and designed by some guys in Europe. Chinese grabbed the design, which pissed these guys off, and built another radio, same idea. It's SDR, software defined, software defined. This one includes a tuner, so they put it all together. When I got this thing, it was only about, I don't know, about 150 hertz off on the signal. So I calibrated it down to, I don't know, about 5. This one hasn't been calibrated yet. It's 300, it's about 3 kilohertz off. So I've got to calibrate that. This thing cost about $230 with the mic. Am I going fast enough?
Take your time. We're good.
Okay. Then we got the Shigu X6100, which has the graphic display. These do not. And these run about $599. I'll tell you, a great little radio. I've had really good luck with it. They're always doing upgrades with it. And you can't hear anything. I'm not hooked up, obviously, but it does up to 10 watts. Pretty solid radio. Has a built-in tuner. Excuse me. Built-in tuner. Nice little radio to take up, and I've played around with it on a POTA that we did one day. I took this one up on a SOTA, and there was just too much noise on squawk. So about $699. This one here, 705 from ICOM. Now, I tend to take these radios and stick them in boxes because I want more battery. So I've actually got a bio-in battery in here. The radio itself is pretty small. I mean, it's about, obviously this size sits back about that much. Now, it is self-contained with batteries. Uses the ICOM HT batteries and built-in tuner. No, it does not have a built-in tuner, I'm sorry. The tuner is separate. That's another part that's in this whole case here. So if you were to pick this up, it's pretty heavy, but it's not that bad to carry. Those go for about $12.99. Then you have to add all your battery and other things if you want to not use the internal batteries. Antennas, gotta find it. New antenna here that I just picked up. for 20 meters. Comes in a little pouch. And it's resonant on 20. But if you have a tuner, it's even better. And I may not be able to get this thing out. At any rate, it's a dipole. And then this thing here I have not tried yet, but it's supposedly it's 6 through 80 meters. And it's adjustable. There's a section here that can be put in for 80 meters, or normally you'd be operating at below that, and this is adjustable to adjust for SWR, which is kind of cool. It was about 120 bucks, something like that. I'm really curious how it's going to work when we get out. In fact, Saturday, I'm going to try it out. And the reason I threw this up here, it's always, you build your own antennas with QRP guys or something like that. You get one of the crappie poles that are 20, 30 feet tall, and you get a QRP guy's end-fed antenna. Well, you got to put it on something, so why not stick it on a tripod? A wooden dowel maybe into here, mount it, send it up. If it's a windy day, put some guys on it, try to keep it. Either that or just pick it up every time it falls over. And, tripod. Now, this cost me about $2. I'm not going to go into Black Friday. There's this place in Aurora that sells, every time I go in there on $2 day, which is a Tuesday, they've always got these things. I keep picking them up left and right. So I got about 7 of them now.
Give you a buck.
So Randy,
No, don't call him that.
no, I'm just going to tell a story about Randy because he's the only club member that's ever done this, and I really give him a lot of credit. But we were going up Signal Butte one year, and Randy was struggling, and I was like, man, the guy's in pretty good shape, and he was struggling, and I just didn't understand what the deal was. And we got up there, he started unloading his 2 backpacks, and out comes a 500-watt amplifier. No, that's a true story.
And it was 50.
Okay, 50-watt amplifier. But he had a lot of stuff in his backpacks. But one of the things that Randy learned, and we learned too, because we were all carrying a lot more stuff that year than we needed. But you learn when you're going on a hike, to pack like Scott packs and not like Randy and I pack. But yeah, very good, Randy. What else, anything else about that you want to?
I always carry a little bag with me with coax and things like that. I can attach it usually to whatever I'm doing here. If I go on a soda or something, I'll just try to jam it in there. An end-fed antenna, and this is well, I can't really see it, it's inside, but it's a QRP guy's antenna with a tuner built in where you can adjust it. Mostly for this one here. I don't know if I'm sold on it, but hey, I took it up and tried it up on Squaw, and there's just so much noise up on Squaw. I really couldn't do it. I think I talked to Dane on the radio.
Another good tip is get all your stuff out and put it together before you go up on the summit, right? You don't want to get up there and you get everything out and you don't have that one connector you need, or that one piece of coax you're using has a short in it, right? So there are a few things you might want to bring extras in your pack, especially connectors and things of that nature. But the night before, the week before, whatever, set this stuff up and get on the air with it at your house so that when you get up on the summit, you've got everything you need. And then once you get it packed back in your backpack, leave it alone.
Cool. Questions?
I want to know the brand of your 2-element Yagi.
This one?
Yeah.
So this is a arrow antenna.
Is it arrows? Okay.
Yeah, Tim out of
You just
Wyoming.
drilled it so it looks certain.
Right. Yeah, I just drilled it out so it doesn't weigh anything.
Yeah, okay.
And I stole the idea from the AMSAT guys at Dayton. They had the 2-element boom, the big
3-element 2 meter and what is it, 7-element 440. It's all drilled out, and I went, wow, that's cool. I got to do it. A lot of time drilling, a lot of time deburring, but it was worth it. Yeah.
Other questions?
Cool. Well, feel free to come up, take a look. If you have questions, we'll kind of hang around, and if you have something you don't understand or want to see closer, come on up. It's all good.
And if you want to join us for one of our deployments, the schedule has come out in the Sunday Blast, I think every week, correct? And if you don't have QRP equipment, but you'd like to come along on the trip, please feel free to join us. We have plenty of equipment. You can do like I did for a couple of years. It seems like watch and listen, but you can also get on the air. And so don't let that stop you from coming along with us. Also, the parking lot safari that we're going to have here in April is going to be in Parker, big parking lot. We show up, we display all of our equipment, and that's a good time to see what everybody else is doing. And also, we look at each other's mobile setups and stuff like that. Dana primarily operates out of his vehicle, not exclusively, but other people do the same thing. So it doesn't, you can also just operate out of your vehicle too on some of our deployments. So that's an option as well. I know, who has HF in their vehicle? I know
Cam
and Jeff and Peter, Dana. Okay, thank you very much.
Cool. It's up there. Okay. I turned it on.
I'm not going for it. Thank you. Well, let me drop the mic here. Well, I think it's obvious each and every month we have some amazing presentations that take place, and ever since day one of the PRA, when we started this, it's been a member-driven organization, and each month we have these great presentations where a club member or two will be able to share their time and talent with us in something related to amateur radio, and hopefully you're able to walk away with a couple treasures and a couple new things that you learned. So certainly, Paul, Scott, thank you again for a great job. So they got some really cool stuff up here, which I think everyone should take advantage of, and there's price tags on it too. So maybe some of this is for sale. I don't. It is for sale. Okay, yeah, make an offer. There you go. You can walk away with some new radios tonight. So I do want to go through the balance of our business meeting. Make sure we get through some of these highlights, but at the same time too, I want to leave enough time so if you want to come up and take a look at some of the gear, we can. Last month we announced the participation in Parker Days. It's a great opportunity that's coming up here. I don't have the dates off the top of my head. It's the second weekend in June. Is that right?
Yeah, like the 17th, 18th, 19th,
so somewhere around there. The premise of and how many are familiar with Parker Days? So Parker Days here obviously takes place in downtown Parker. We have a great opportunity to be some really great ham radio ambassadors. All we're there to do is just to provide communications, nothing else, just kind of eyes and ears to help the event organizers. Great way, again, to number one, get on the air, but number two, be a ham radio ambassador with us. We still need volunteers to sign up. I know there's plenty of spots that are open. And this event is taking place on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so we still need participants involved with it. So there is a sign-up sheet that goes out in the weekly blast, so make sure you check that out. And it's also, if you're not getting the weekly blast, please let us know because we want to make sure your email address is there. 8th through the 11th. Okay, there we go. But also, all of our weekly blast information is on our website. It's there as well, so make sure you check that out. If you haven't signed up and clock is ticking. We certainly need more people to be involved with that, so please sign up quickly. Paul, we'll jump over to weekly nets. Anything you'd like to add there?
Well, just real quickly, we've started back up with the digital nets on Monday night at 8 p.m. So please join Wayne and his team. You can come in on DMR, All-Star, I believe, Fusion, D-Star, did I say D-Star, DMR? All different digital modes you can access our system, and that's Monday night at 8 p.m.
There we go.
Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. is our analog net. I'm sorry, 8:30 Thursday night.
I thought it was 8.
8:30. 8:30.
You missed the board meeting.
Thursday night, 8:30 is our analog net. We need people to sign up for net control station.
Yes.
We have no one signed up in the future, which means we will not be having any analog nets in the future if we don't have people sign up. So please sign up, because when we do have the net, we have 20 plus people. It's a fantastic net. It's easy to sign up. You go to the on the air tab, pick the date, put your call sign in. We'll send you an email to remind you. We'll give you a script. If you don't have a script, we'll give you a script. We'll help you in any way we can, but we need net control stations.
One of the things that Paul and Scott covered on their presentation tonight was listening and copying. Great way to hone in your listening and copying skills of being a net control operator. So, and at the same time too, no bones about it, nobody signs up, no net. So you might get voluntold if you come on and go, hey, are we having a net tonight? Yeah, you want to be net control? No, well, then we're not having a net. So please sign up for that. Brad, we'll throw it over to you. The Elmer Anew Member Committee. We'll let you have at it here for a couple minutes.
All right, thank you. I'm Brad Tombaugh, W0DDT. I think there's 4 Brads in the club now, so I'm not the kit building guy or the QRP guy, but I do help to run our Elmer Anew Member Committee. Last year, our Elmer group built 2 antennas. One of them was a QRP guy's end-fed half-wave kit, which was fantastic, worked really well. The other one we did was this little guy, which is a tape measure Yagi. These are all made out of pieces of tape measure and PVC pipe. This is a 70 centimeter. Being a Yagi, it's very directional, and so we used it to do a fox hunt with Randy. We are talking about doing another one of these this year and making a 2-meter version similar to the nice commercial one that Scott has. So it would be a bit bigger than this, but same kind of concept. PVC pipe and pieces of tape measure. These, by the way, are bendable, so you can actually fold this thing up for storage, so you don't, take an eye out while you're traveling with it. Those all come apart and roll together. So we put together kits like this. This has all of the PVC pre-cut. It has the tape measure pieces pre-cut. It's got all of the other hardware and pieces that are needed to put these antennas together. I have one of these saved for Kevin Lynch. Is Kevin here tonight? Kevin's got one of these reserved, but I have 2 more available for $15 each. So if anyone was not able to join us last year when we built these antennas, I have 2 of them with me tonight that are available. So if you're interested, please see me afterwards. So we have some other antenna building ideas, but I'm going to let my friend Jerry speak to what we have up our sleeves coming up here in the near future.
Thanks, Brad.
So I'm Jerry, AG7U. For 2023, we have been kind of holding our antenna builds close to the vest. All will be revealed 1 week from today. So come back here, learn what we're going to do. There's going to be some surprises. I promise everyone in this room will be surprised. I promise. So you don't want to miss it. I'm going to bring 3 homemade antennas for you to see, to kind of demo some of the work that we plan to do. So look forward to seeing you all next week.
What a teaser. That's, if you haven't been to an Elmer night, even if you've been a ham for 20, 30, 40 or more years, I guarantee with your money back, you will learn something at Elmer Night. And with what Jerry just gave us a great teaser for next week.
Jerry, did I recall that there's going to be some sort of a giveaway
What?
at that meeting?
That is true. We can reveal that. There is a giveaway with strings attached.
Wow.
For more details,
Yeah.
come over next week.
Show up. I love it. I love it. Great job. Thanks, guys. Good stuff. Repeater committee. Wayne, anything you want to add in for the repeater committee?
Everything's status quo. It's get on the nets, analog and digital. Everything's on the website. Starting to get warmed up, so we might be able to get up to the repeater sites and do some work on some towers, but nothing as of yet. Nothing new, but stuff's coming.
Well, great that we have the digital net back weekly. That's good stuff. So kudos to you and your team on that. Thank you. Portable ops deployments. We've already covered that. We'll move on. Actually, I got to take out Amazon Smile. King Soopers. King Soopers. If you are a King Soopers or Kroger shopper, or if you have family members across the country who maybe shop at Kroger and they have not selected a charity of choice, you can do that through the Community Rewards Program through the Kroger Corporation. You log on with your card number, your Super Saver shopper card number, and under the Community Reward or Community Rewards, you can select a charity of choice. And if you haven't selected a charity yet, the Parker Radio Association is a 501c3 nonprofit charity recognized through our friends at the IRS. So we would love to be a part of that. Doesn't cost you anything, but what Kroger does is that they take a percentage of the group's buy every quarter, and they kick us some money back. And that's been some nice donations that we've gotten back through the Kroger Corporation, and we're thankful for them. They've helped us to promote and support a lot of the initiatives that we've done over the years, particularly in our loaner gear. We have 3 loaner HF radios that we put out to club members that are available to take out, loan, and use. Go ahead, Brad.
One of which actually is the IC705.
Yep.
So if you want to try QRP on your own, please reach out and ask to borrow that radio. It comes complete with an antenna and headset, power supply, everything that you need. Probably not a battery other than the built-in battery.
Correct.
On the 705?
Correct.
So you can only run the low power mode. But if you want to try one out,
great way to do it.
Come see us.
Jeff.
Can I pile onto that if you are a technician, you have privileges on 10 meter for sideband, meaning you can talk, and 10 meters has been insane lately. You can probably talk to Europe. You can probably talk to Australia, New Zealand, Cuba, on that radio right there with a technician license from your backyard.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
If you've been waiting to get your general to get on HF, now's the time. Take that thing. Well, don't take Randy's. You'll have to fight him for it. But take the club one home and try it out.
Yeah. So you get onto our website, and there's a very simple sign-up process for that. Cameron does a great job at managing that for us as well. Jeff, while you're here, I'm going to skip right over to you. Anything on the website?
Sure.
Status and update?
So nothing, minor updates, minor changes to the website, nothing substantial at this point. As always, if you spot a problem, have a problem, see a problem, whatever, let us know. Send an email to website?
Website at Parker Radio.
Yeah, website at parkerradio.org. We'll address it. We'll get it sorted out. Can I talk about one other thing?
Please do. The floor is yours.
So Scott mentioned earlier that there were a couple of guys out at one of our members' house this past weekend. That's something I want to circle back to because I think it's important. If you don't know where to put your antenna, how to set it up, where to run the cables, how to hook power to it, whatever you need to do to get a station up at your house, we have a group of people in the club that'll just hop in our pickups and drive to your house and we'll help you figure it out. We got a couple really smart people. We even bring Scott.
Yeah.
Humor value. But we'll help you figure out if you need to hide an antenna from your HOA Nazis, if you need to, whatever it is you need to do. We got people who've done it
in 20 minutes
before. And that's just a free thing. We just show up and we'll help you figure that out. We'll help you put it up too, but as a starting point, we'll at least help you figure it out. That's something we do. And then the one other thing I wanted to mention was Long Island Radio Club, or whatever it's called, is fantastic for CW. I personally use Morse Academy. Morse Academy is also fantastic. It's free. They have like 5 different levels of classes. You meet twice a week for, I don't know, 8 or 10 weeks. It's absolutely fantastic. If you want to learn CW, there's no excuse. Go sign up for either one, Morse Academy or the Long Island Club. They will get you there. It's a great way. I learned CW back in 1979 and then kind of didn't use it and forgot it, and now I'm back, thanks to Morse Academy. So,
Good
just
stuff.
wanted to mention that.
Excellent, thanks, Jeff. Yes, sir.
Yeah, just so everybody knows, I am the, anonymous club member who they came out to help. So, but it was really great because I know nothing about radio. The fact that I know nothing is something, but these guys came out, gave a lot of ideas, a lot of information, so my appreciation to all of them for that. And
Awesome.
yeah, they never hesitated when I asked for help, so, yeah.
It might be bad advice, but at least it's free, right?
Yeah.
He's gonna figure that out.
Right.
Exactly. We'll jump back. Any updates on the remote station initiative?
I do not have an update.
Okay.
John and I have talked a little while. We've made some progress in narrowing focus and stuff like that from sort of we can do anything to.
Yeah.
But I haven't talked with John since a couple meetings ago.
Okay. Very good. Let's see here. The PRA shirts and badges. Robert.
So shirts, getting ready to make another order on t-shirts, so get online, get your orders in. We need 25 orders is our minimum for me to make a batch to go. So if we haven't got it by the end of the month, I'll just hold the orders till we do get 25 and I can ship them off. Badges?
I'll do badges.
Let Randy do badges.
Yeah, I'll do badges. Here in front of me are several different versions of badges that will be available to the club. No, it doesn't. So if you want to come over and swing by, they'll be available. You can order them from the website here, I don't know, a week or so. There should be a link, and it goes out. You pay for them online. And
it's a local company, by the way.
Yes.
It is very local.
Very local.
Thank you, Chad.
Yes. So take a look if there's anything you like here. Hey, it'll be available, and you can see them up close behind plastic.
Very good.
And Dan, I just want to point out they are first class quality.
Yep.
Better than anything we've ever seen. So I would encourage all the members to purchase when they're available. Purchase a badge.
I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah, they're good. It's good stuff. All right, financial report, Robert. I'll let you fly here. You got about
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Bank balance as of Sunday was $12,609. I've simplified the expense structure somewhat, putting it all in various groups now instead of trying to track the individual $10 things. But right now, that's the current allocations for going forward. We do allocate all our money that we have to the different committees, different projects, different things. The other non-repeater operating expense is basically non-repeater hardware and gear. That includes the shirts we'll be ordering, that includes anything we may order as a club that's not repeater related. But typically any expenses going to websites, special events, repeaters, field day will be going into those individual categories going forward. Any questions? We got money.
I'm missing it.
Go ahead.
All right, we're good. Any questions for Robert?
I was just recognizing Kermit.
Oh, that's right. Kermit, you have an announcement.
I do. As many as, so last August 13th, a group in Albert County volunteer group had been holding a lot of workshops and things, and one thing they got decided, thanks to my wife, was we need to have a self-reliance expo. So we held one last August 13th, and we were very pleased that Parker Radio Association participated. Jeff and Brian, I think Randy was there, and you were there too?
Yeah, some other bald guy was there.
And I was so busy running around, I don't really remember who was there taking care of things. But we have one scheduled for April 8th at the Elbert County Fairgrounds in Kiowa. We have close to 40 vendors signed up. We have ammunition, we have firearms, we have, since it's in the springtime, a lot of people on gardening, sustainability, and so forth. We had to change the name from Self-Reliance Expo because all of a sudden we got an email from the company out in Maine or New Hampshire that has it copyrighted and trademarked. So we basically said, we won't do it again. So it's Self-Reliance Fair this time. It runs from 9 to 4 or whenever. And I think it's well worthwhile. It's a $10 donation to come in. Kids are free. We have 3, possibly 4 food trucks lined up. And a lot of speakers and presentations. And I think we've talked Jeff into giving a presentation on the in and outs of ham radio and the most common questions. So I've got some flyers here. I'll put on the back table next to Glenn, or I can just pass them on.
What was the date on that?
April 8th.
Day before Easter.
The day before Easter. It was the only day we could get the fairgrounds.
I mean, what's a better way to fill the Easter basket than...
And I think the PRA is going to have a booth out there. Is that right, Dan?
Pardon?
The PRA, I believe, is going to have a booth out there. Is that correct,
I
Jim?
got all the paperwork.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've got a bunch of small flyers I can pass
Excellent.
out.
Yeah, feel free to just start passing those around. Awesome.
Yeah.
Any questions, any last questions we have before we wrap up the business meeting? Well, I want to thank you for spending a couple hours with us. Hopefully you're walking away learning something from a great presentation. Again, remember, we got Parker Days coming up. We need you to sign up for that. We also have nets each week. We need you to sign up for those, please. No sign-ups, no nets. So that's the way that's going to roll. Field Day, that is coming up as well. Make sure you're signing up for that. So lots of great activities. So not only do we play radio, have fun, and keep the squelch loose, but we do stuff. So look forward to seeing you at Elmer Night next Tuesday, right? Here at the library. All right, have a great week, and come check out some of the gear. Good night, guys. Thank you.